Hey everybody, it's Stacey and you are here for Real Talk. It's Real Talk time every Thursday. And today I want to talk about blaming and complaining. Woo, hot topic. Let's all take a few deep breaths. So today I want to talk about blaming and complaining, why we do it, why you might want to stop, and what to do instead. Plus, I want to talk about how this relates to becoming a coach. So when something we don't like happens, the first thing we tend to want to know is, whose fault is this? My dog bit my daughter. Whose fault is this? I got a parking ticket. Whose fault is this? For example, when we start blaming other people, those are kind of complaints, but when we start blaming, we think about someone else, right? We're pointing the finger out. Why didn't you book the plane tickets when you said you would? I told you there was a great deal. Now they are double the price. Or, why didn't you clean the house before company comes over? You knew how much I already had on my plate today. Never mind, I'll just do it myself. Do these sound familiar? Or sometimes it's a complaint to a friend about someone else. I'm so frustrated with Michael. The kids are sleeping at a friend's house and I thought we would finally get a date night, but he didn't even think of it. Not only that, but he had the nerve to notify me that his guy friends were coming over to watch the game. He only thinks of himself. Or, my coworker makes the same as me, but she barely produces anything. On top of that, she's already taken 2 vacations this year, and I haven't taken 1 in 3 years. It's not fair. So I've got a question for you. What is your biggest complaint right now? Without naming names, if you want to put a blank in there for just this urge to want to blame. So without naming names, notice what you feel most frustrated or resentful about in your life. What is the unwanted experience that you're having or keeps recurring in your life? What do you want to complain about? I want to give us all 10 seconds to just vent, just complain. You get to go wild, go crazy, go ahead, complain. What's the worst thing? What are you so frustrated and resentful about, and who do you want to point the finger at? And you can just put a blank. You don't have to put their name. Just, who do you want to be frustrated about? So for a few moments, this just helps us get it out, because sometimes we just want to get it out. And I want to give you permission to do that. However, it's not unlimited permission. It's a contained permission. And this is kind of childlike, right? Is, what do children do? They throw a tantrum or they die, right? That's how they get what they want. So this is, in a way, a natural tendency before we even had language to express ourselves. Is, what would we do? We throw our arms against the wall. We beat our feet against the floor, stomp your feet, beat on our chest, and scream. I want it to be different. I'm right, you're wrong. In fact, I have a little song for that. It goes like this. I'm right, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. In other words, it's not me that's creating this problem, it's you. And I need you to be different so I can be happier. Ay, 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 ay. Yes, so I want to read some comments here from Marcia. Why do I have to work full time? Yeah, well done. What else? What are your biggest complaints right now about some unwanted experience, maybe that's recurring for you, and somewhere where you might feel resentful? Where are you holding resent in your body or in your heart, right, that causes contraction? And go ahead and post that in the comment. And meanwhile, I'll keep talking. Why do we go to blame? Well, I was thinking about this morning, and I came up with 3 reasons why we go to blame. Number 1 is to release anger and frustration. Number 2 is to grasp control when we feel helpless or powerless, like Marcia was just saying. It's like, why do I have to work full time, right? And this is your fault. I have to work full time because you're not doing your part, right? And the third reason why we go to blame is to avoid creational responsibility. Now that sounds like some fancy terminology. I thought it was kind of clever, but it's actually way simpler than you realize, and I'm gonna break it down. But before I do, answer me this question. Does it feel good to complain and blame? Like, it might feel satisfying for a moment, especially if you get validation from someone else. Oh, you are right to be pissed about that. He is this way, or she isn't showing up and doing her part. You are so right to feel that way. And it is their fault. There's that moment maybe of some gratification, but it's a superficial gratification, right? Because we still have the problem. So does it feel good to complain or blame? Does it feel good to hold resentment? Yeah, I see Nadia saying it feels ucky afterwards. And then I blame myself for blaming others. Yes, so you're still playing the blame game. Suzanne, victim mentality, excellent. I'm going to mention that in a moment. Yeah, and Suzanne Silver says it's always going to make you feel worse. April saying, yep, it feels good in the moment, but it's so short-lived, right? And let's see. I'm seeing a few more great complaints here. These are so well articulated. When people say they will do something, they don't do it. Let's see. Why do I always have to justify what I'm spending my money on? From Suzanne. Really good. Yeah, and Samantha saying, no, it doesn't feel good. And Marcia saying, no. And Tori saying, no. Yeah, it does not feel good. So here's what I've learned. This is a biggie. You're never upset for the reasons you think you are. So let's turn blame around with a few simple antidotes. And what I'm about to give you is your no blame, no complaint diet plan. So here's one thing that I have come to know to be true that is much more empowering than the blame game, which is only what you have not given can be lacking in any situation. Only what you have not given can be lacking in any situation. Now, how do you turn that into action? Well, in coaching, change is catalyzed by inquiry, or what we like to call catalyzing questions. And the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your coaching and the quality of the transformation that someone receives. Questions can inspire, can open, right? They can catalyze empowerment. So the question that I want to inspire you with is, instead of who's to blame, what am I not claiming for myself? What am I not claiming for myself? What is the opportunity for creative leadership? Our greatest pains come from unfulfilled creative potential, okay? So unfulfilled leadership. Woo, that's a biggie. Go ahead and write that down, because you'll chew on it later. Unfulfilled leadership, unowned personal power, or creational responsibility. Now, what is creational responsibility? The idea that we are the authors of our experience. It can't be any other way. This is the truth. Anything else is an untruth. When we're tempted to point the finger outwards, turn it back around and inquire. So it's your fault. And inquire, not with blame, but with curiosity. That's very important. It's not with it's not with blame back here, because that doesn't work. That's kind of reprimanding ourselves into some kind of submission. When I'm tempted to blame, let me turn it around and ask, what is wanting to be claimed? To trust that you have an innate intelligence. And when you're tempted to blame, something is wanting to be created here. There's some kind of opportunity for your leadership to step into a version of you that is the leader, that is the creator, that is the one responsible for making the experience what you want it to be. So in short terminology, trade blame for claim. So in the areas of your life where you are tempted to blame something or someone, what do you want to create? Is it, wow, I'm really blaming because I want connection, or I want support, or I want partnership, I want collaboration, I want consideration, I need boundaries, right? It might sound something like this. This Saturday, the kids have a sleepover. I assumed we would have a date, but then you invited the guys over without even considering us doing something together. What I'd really love is to feel connected, so we can plan. So can we plan a date together on Sunday morning? You see, now I've taken the leadership, I've taken initiative. Only what you have not given can be lacking in any situation. Blame requires there to be a villain and a victim. The moment blame leaves your mouth, you are deciding a perpetrator, who's the perpetrator or the villain, and who's the victim. And likely if blame is leaving your mouth, then you're the victim, making someone else the villain. This is self-destructive. Resentment actually means to take ill. It feeds, and blaming feeds this sense of resentment. It festers this resentment inside of ourselves, causes physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, right? Do you know this to be true? Can you say it has ever felt good to blame someone? It consumes energy for creativity. When our creativity stagnates, we want to shrivel up, we get bitter, we get resentful, and that's what creates our neurosis. So what does all this have to do with coaching? Well, coaching is more than a career. It's a calling to become the leader you were meant to be, first for you, and then to help others do the same. But it really starts with you. You are the model for this. So for yourself, then for the other people in your life, including your kids, your spouse, and your clients. We need models of creational responsibility. And the beauty of this is that there's no downside to assuming creational responsibility, right? We're not at the effect of everyone else. We're taking ownership, taking leadership. What might your life be like when you stop complaining and start claiming? What might your life be like when you stop settling or compromising what you really need? That's also where a lot of complaining and blaming comes, is that we've made some compromise or sacrifice that we didn't really want to make, and it didn't pay off in the way we thought, and now we're holding someone else responsible for it. First, you got to take creational responsibility. Then you can come forward with accountability. How is this landing for you? Yeah, Lori's repeating, a calling to be a leader and to be the support for others doing the same. Absolutely. And this is why coaching is so incredible, because we are eliciting leadership, both for ourselves, because we have to model it for our clients, right? And then teaching our clients to be the leaders of their own lives. And from that, we are never stuck, And guess what? We end up all doing our best work, which wouldn't the world be a more peaceful, happy place if we were all doing our best work? The other good news about this is that when you stop settling or compromising what you really need, when you stop stepping onto the path that leads you to resentment, that silent internal seething that creates toxicity and self-destruction, you'll love yourself. And nothing and no one can take that away from you, no matter what. Now, what is required in order to do that? Got to stop resisting taking ownership for your own experience. The moment that resistance to taking ownership or creative responsibility is dropped, we're free to change, really change. When you know how to create and claim change, you are never stuck. That's the beauty of becoming a coach. It's not just a job, it's a way of life. If you'd like to experience this kind of leadership and empowerment in a deeper way and actually using catalyzing questions, coaching sequences, then I want to invite you to join us for HCI Live. That's our 3-day live event in person with my co-pilot, Carrie, and myself and some other guest experts. And it is 3 days of heart-opening, jaw-dropping, soul-quenching, mind-bending illumination of our patterns of how we get ourselves stuck in ruts and how those patterns repeat. So if you know that you are being called to claim more ownership of your own life, then I want to invite you to come to HCI Live. Go to hcilive.com to learn more about the event. If you're a Become a Health Coach student, then you already have a ticket to this event. If you haven't reserved it, then go to hcilive.com and reserve it. No distance is too far. People come from all over the world to attend HCI Live. We have people from India, Australia, the UK, France, Germany, all over the United States, Hawaii, Alaska. I mean, people come from everywhere. And you are going to come out that 3 days unbecoming what you're not and more becoming the leader you were born to be. Can you already feel just how empowering that is? Aren't you curious to know that version of yourself that doesn't blame or complain, doesn't need to, because you're the leader? So for right now, I invite you to claim your ticket to HCI Live and also go on a no blame, no complain diet. If you need to blame or complain, or you just want to use looking into who you're blaming and for what, if you want to look at that, give yourself little parameters. Okay, for 10 seconds, I'm going to vomit out my complaints and my blames, but then I'm going to turn around and ask, what is wanting to be claimed? So I hope this is inspiring for you. What are you taking away from this? I'd love to know what is your biggest aha from this conversation. And if you know someone who feels stuck in blaming or complaining, tag them in the comments so they can get this video and share in this real talk discussion. I gotta say, we call it Real Talk for a reason. We hope to bring you provocative inquiry here and say the things that most people won't. So go ahead and post your comment in the chat. Sign up for HCI Live. By the way, did you know that you can also bring a friend or a spouse or a coworker to HCI Live? Even if they're not a coach, that's okay. They can come to HCI Live too, because everyone probably could use a healthy dose of creational responsibility in their lives, of taking ownership and leadership, and I promise that we will take great care of them and they will also get something out of that experience. So Suzanne says, Thank you for this conversation. And Marcia saying, can't wait for Austin. Yeah, the next event is in Austin, Texas. Go to hcilive.com to find out more. And today's throne reading, appropriate for this topic, is called Get the Life You Want by Richard Bandler. Richard Bandler is one of the fathers of neuro-linguistic programming. And the secrets to quick and lasting life change. So that seems appropriate for today's reading, and it's cool. There's a couple of exercises in this book that are useful for taking leadership, for taking that creational responsibility to get the life you want. So if you like this, be sure to hit the like button up top, share it with those it can be shared with by posting them, tagging them in the comments, or clicking the share button. And I thank you for joining me for this episode of Real Talk.